Minnesota might be known as the land of 10,000 lakes, but did you know that is a total lie? Because according to the Department of Natural Resources, we actually have 14,380 lakes. But that just doesn't roll off the tip of your tongue like 10,000 does. So for some reason, the Minnesota marketing team just rounded down. But that's neither here nor there, because Minnesota is famous worldwide for its fabulous lakes. And I'm going to tell you about the most sought after lakes within 30 minutes of the Twin Cities. And I'll also drop a bonus tip for you on a lake that I can almost guarantee is not on your radar, but it is absolutely incredible. The first lake on this list is going to be Lake Minnetonka. It is so well known for its gorgeous scenery and clear water, and it's located in the western suburbs of the Twin Cities, about 20 minutes to 40 minutes west of Minneapolis, depending on what part of the lake you're visiting. It is a massive lake. The lake size is 14,528 acres. And if you're trying to imagine how big that is, think of 14,528 football fields, which is kind of hard to imagine because it is so darn big. Hiking and biking and scenic trails loop around the shores of the lake, although not in a continuous loop because it's so big. Lake Minnetonka even has islands in it. Over 30 islands that attract boaters, kayakers, picnickers, hikers, and probably some partiers too. It's a super fun lake. And people love to bring their boats out and tie them together in the coves and spend all day out on the water. It has restaurants and bars on the lake. Lord Fletcher's is popular. You can pull your boat right up to the dock and come in and eat. And so is Maynard's, not to be confused with Menards, which is Minnesota's most beloved home improvement store. Maynard's has a nice ambiance, eating right by the water, and there's some other lakefront restaurants on the lake as well. Lake Minnetonka's shores are lined with multi-million-dollar homes. There's currently one home for sale on Lake Minnetonka for $850,000, but most of the homes on the lake are selling for in the millions, with one home listed for sale for almost $15 million. You're probably curious what a nearly $15 million home on Lake Minnetonka has, so I'll just show you a couple of the pictures of the almost 360-degree panoramic lake views and the kinds of finishes that a home like this has. So if you have a good chunk of change and you're ready to spend on a lake home and want to be on one of the most prestigious lakes around the Twin Cities, Lake Minnetonka is a must-see. Now, some of the downsides of Lake Minnetonka are the high property taxes. Obviously, if you have homes selling for multi-million dollars, property taxes are not going to be cheap. And the boat traffic on the lake is really busy during the summer. It can be really hectic. Another downside is that with all the fun and partying, probably excessive drinking sometimes, there have been a few times over the years that drunken boaters either pooped in the lake or accidentally dumped their marine toilets into the lake, which on July 4th, 2019 caused an outbreak of vomiting and diarrhea among 200 or so people who had all parked their boats and were loitering around Big Island on Lake Minnetonka partying.
Boaters who spent time near Lake Minnetonka's Big Island are on the road to recovery after becoming sick.
The Conservation District passed stricter ordinances on marine toilets following this incident, making sure that they had to be removed from watercraft on lakes in the area and the discharge valves had to be locked. Anyone caught not complying would be issued a misdemeanor, but if you own a multi-million-dollar lake home, this is a crappy situation. No pun intended. Okay, I did intend to make a pun there. This is obviously an isolated and highly unusual incident, but Lake Minnetonka is a very happening place, and it's a real party atmosphere in some parts of the lake. So if you're looking for something more peaceful, Lake Minnetonka probably won't be the best option for you. However, if you like an exciting, happening, prestigious lake and you have millions to spend on a home, Lake Minnetonka could be right up your alley. If you're considering Lake Minnetonka or any lake around the Twin Cities, click on the link in my comments below because lake homes are my jam and I would love to help you with your lake home search. If a city vibe is more your style, Lake Nokomis in South Minneapolis is a really popular lake and it has tons of recreational activities and is very beautiful. In addition to having beaches for swimming and places to go fishing, Lake Nokomis has great walking and biking paths. Fun fact, I actually personally did a triathlon at this lake last year, and while I might not be headed for greatness anytime soon with my triathlon career, I can vouch for how great this lake is for swimming and how awesome the paths are around the lake or running and biking too. Lake Nokomis also has a number of parks nearby that are great for kids and for picnics and get-togethers. This lake has a boat launch, but it is non-recreational. In Minnesota, we have two classes of bodies of water, recreational Recreational lakes mean that motorized vehicles are allowed on it, and non-recreational lakes like Lake Nokomis, where you can only have non-power watercraft. No jet skis zipping around this lake, ruining your peaceful afternoon picnic. Whether you live in the Twin Cities or are just visiting, this lake is pretty centrally located and easy to get to. The dark side of a lake in the city is that it can face water quality issues being in an urban area, and there's runoff from nearby roads and development. Also, urban lakes do have a lack of privacy. If you're coming to visit this lake, then certainly many others are going to want to too. And like most lakes around the Twin Cities, it will probably be pretty crowded certain times of the year, so plan your visit accordingly. While we're talking about urban lakes actually within the Twin Cities, let's chat about another one. Bde Maka Ska was formerly known as Lake Calhoun, but it turns out that he was a racist and a white supremacist, so it was renamed in 2020. The name Bde Maka Ska means White Earth Lake in the Dakota language. This is the largest lake in Minneapolis, and it is surrounded by a path along the whole trail, so it's a great place to do a little 5K run or walk or rollerblade. If you're visiting Minneapolis, this is a great place to check out. And if you're feeling extra energetic, you can walk up to nearby Lake of the Isles, which is lined with beautiful multi-million-dollar historic homes, so it's really fun to look at the homes and also walk along the lake. Next, we have White Bear Lake, which is a really big lake that has the most adorable and charming little town center right off the western shores of the lake. There are bookstores and shops and coffee shops and bakeries, and it is so fun to go stroll around. It has lots of restaurants and bars and a yoga studio overlooking the lake. Studio One Yoga is personally my favorite yoga studio in the Twin Cities. It is amazing, and the Japanese restaurant next door to it, Mizu, has some of the best sushi in the area. There's also a Kowalski's right across the street from the lake. Kowalski's is a higher-end grocery store in Minnesota and a big parking lot, so you can drop into Kowalski's and take advantage of their salad bar. They have a lot of other prepared food too, but the salad bar is my favorite thing there. There are a lot of parks and trails to meander along while you're enjoying the water views of White Bear Lake. There are boat slips available along the lake, but there is on average a 4-year wait for the boat slips. So while you're waiting, you can just launch your boat at one of the public launches. White Bear is a busy lake, so there will be a line, and let me tell you, you have never felt pressure until you've tried to back up a trailer with a boat on it in front of a crowd of people. One downside of this lake is that a decade ago, the water levels bottomed out at historic levels because of an overuse of groundwater. The shores of White Bear Lake are filled with multi-million-dollar homes as well. At the time of filming this video, there is one lake lot available for $695 with a to-be-built home that will bring it to about $1.34 million. And there are a few built lake homes as well that are listed for between $2 million and $3.3 million. White Bear is about 15 minutes from St. Paul, so super close to the Twin Cities. The last lake that I guarantee is not on your radar, but it definitely should be, is Lake Olson in the eastern suburb of Lake Elmo. Lake Elmo was rated by the Star Tribune several months ago as the Twin Cities' hottest new suburb. Lake Olson is not a huge lake compared to Lake Minnetonka or White Bear Lake, but it does not have a public boat launch, so it is very quiet and very private, and it's connected by a channel to nearby Lake to Montreville. So when you're on one lake, you can easily access the other lake. What's special about these lakes is there's no restaurants or bars on them, so these lakes tend to be very quiet, secluded, and very peaceful. They're fully recreational lakes, so people love to go water skiing or jet skiing on them, but because they're smaller lakes, there just isn't quite as much boat traffic on these lakes as other lakes. There aren't a lot of homes for sale on these lakes. At the time of filming, there's only one home that's listed for sale on Lake Olson, 2-bathroom home with 270 feet of lakeshore that's listed for $879,000. But to be 20 minutes from the Twin Cities and have that much shoreline and still be in such a secluded location is an awesome deal. So that might be controversial. I want to hear from you. What do you think are the top lakes around the Twin Cities, and what lakes should have been on this list that I've missed?